Watch this.
A Treasure Valley Uber driver tells us he has to worry about more than just bad drivers on the road. He's dealing with insults, threats, even violence, all because of his Cybertruck. As grocery prices soar across the country, Albertsons says they're putting customers first. They're making a move to hold the line, but some fear it won't be that simple.
You put your right foot in, you put your right foot out.
It's been sung, danced, and laughed about for decades.
It's unforgettable.
Yeah,
It sticks with you.
indeed.
But the real story behind the Hokey Pokey, it's a lot messier, but a lot closer to Idaho than you might think. Well, love it or hate it, you certainly know a Cybertruck when you see it. And these days, when people see one, it can rile up some opinions that go beyond its futuristic look. With Tesla's owner, Elon Musk, and his recent role in politics, his trucks have been a target for criticism and, in some cases, confrontation. Earlier this month, a Tesla service center in Boise was hit with a major act of vandalism, $114,000 in damage total. 16 brand new Cybertrucks, all tagged with red spray paint, and the word Nazi was spray painted across the building itself. And for those who drive Cybertrucks, they tell us the harassment isn't just happening in parking lots. They're seeing more aggressive behavior on the road. As Hunter Funk explains, they're being hassled, tailgated, and even confronted at stoplights, simply for their choice in trucks.
Len Anderson has been behind the wheel, driving the streets of the Treasure Valley nearly all his life. But recently, he's getting paid to do it.
I've been driving Uber for about just a little over 4 years.
For the last 2 months, it felt different.
People say Boise's pretty nice, right?
Yes, very nice.
Until you drive a Cybertruck.
Until for the last probably 2 or 3 months, driving a Cybertruck I feel like I've been bullied like in grade school, like that. I've never felt like that since I was a kid.
He was on a reservation list to get the Cybertruck for 4.5 years. And now, 11 months of officially owning the truck.
You had no issues with your Cybertruck until recently.
Not significantly. Every so often somebody would flip me off or whatever. And that was kind of a somewhat of a thing, but ever since the politics of Elon Musk, it has escalated quite a bit.
And it's gone beyond rude gestures.
The most significant one was a guy got out of his truck at a stoplight and actually came up to my truck and punched it.
His experience mirroring others who also own a Cybertruck.
Just over a year, yeah.
Like Mike and Tobiah Green.
A lot of one-finger salutes and a lot of people yelling at us certain obscenities.
There's been people that have passed me doing the Nazi salute, which I thought was really surprising.
I mean, people will just drive up real fast and aggressively to flip us off or yell something out their window.
Throw things, cut you off.
Yeah, I mean, someone even scratched the back of my tailgate.
They're hurting people that don't deserve it. They don't know if they're on the same political affiliation or not. We could be on the same team. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's really, really silly.
And to be afraid to park somewhere or go downtown or to leave the truck somewhere where something might happen to it.
It can be scary. Obviously, you don't know who's in the other car or what their intentions are.
These Tesla owners say the same thing. The truck isn't about the politics.
Flipping me off doesn't hurt Elon's feelings.
Or anybody
or
else's.
change his political projections he's involved in.
They just want to drive the vehicle that they bought.
I bought it because it made most sense for me. For my business, it was a tax write-off. And for me personally, I love driving electric. I love the full self-driving. I love all the other features it does. It does truck stuff.
Len says he's tired of being asked how he feels about Elon Musk. He's just trying to drive and not debate politics. He says he hopes the hostility on the road shifts into park real soon.
Are you worried about your ratings too for Uber?
Yeah, that lady did rate me a 1. And I turned around and rated her a 1 too. And I'm hoping that it will be backing off a little bit. I'm sure it will in time. It'll back off, but I'm just hoping sooner.
And I've asked them if they've looked at selling their cars because of this, and they say they don't want to because they love the vehicle and the money that they save by not buying gas. I also want to reference that lady that he brought up. First question, it was a couple actually. They came in and they're like, how do you feel about Elon Musk? And he's like, I don't want to comment on this. And then they just gave him a lecture for a 15-minute drive.
Well, you know, on those apps, you can decline a ride. If you see it's a Cybertruck heading your way, you know you could pick another one, but you seem to take the one that's most convenient, obviously.
Yeah.
So
another situation too, went 2 blocks. The guy was like, I'm done, left.
Yeah, this whole tribal take on this kind of stuff is a bit ridiculous. I guess, as you mentioned, their main purpose in buying these years ago was to save the planet in the first part. So that's kind of how.
It was 4 years ago when they got on the list.
Exactly. All right. Thanks, Hunter. It's good perspective. All right. Well, it's been kind of a, like, will they or won't they romance of your favorite TV show? Actually, it's been more like that on again, off again thing, kind of like Sam and Diane or Ross and Rachel, or Trump and tariffs. There's a chance Congress will take a run at saying no to President Trump's Liberation Day tariff plan this week, but that would also then have to avoid a veto. Meanwhile, businesses are beginning to feel a bit held hostage when it comes to buying product and then possibly passing those increased costs on to customers. Well, one Idaho business is taking a definitive stance on this. Albertsons sent a letter to suppliers recently that makes it clear increasing prices is something, well, they don't plan on doing. Joe Paris tries to find out how feasible that might be.
Boise-based Albertsons making headlines and industry news. A letter reportedly sent to their suppliers laying out a tariff-related rule. With exceptions, the grocery chain is, quote, not accepting cost increases due to tariffs. The letter included in work from people like Matt Stoller, research director for the American Economic Liberties Project, and industry news sites like Supermarket News. The letter explains that suppliers are not permitted to include tariff-related costs in invoices without prior authorizations. In the letter, Albertsons prefaces their decision saying, our customers rely on us for competitive pricing, and they are committed to maintaining the value proposition customers expect. The letter does go on to tell suppliers that they will review price increases on a case-by-case basis, asking for evidence and reasons why, requesting 90 days of advance notice before a cost bump as well. Analysis on the topic from people like Matt Stoller worry that the cost of many items is going to spike and suppliers will go out of business if they can't cover those increased costs.
For us, for Albertsons companies, we procure more than 90% of our products domestically.
Incoming Albertsons CEO Susan Morris touched on tariff impacts during an earnings call earlier this month. Morris, the current executive vice president and chief operations officer, will take over as CEO on May 1st. She highlighted that sourcing so many products domestically does set them apart, but there is a reality.
So that's a very different position than some of the competitive set out there. We also recognize, though, that even in those domestic purchases, there are impacts from ingredients that are sourced from tariff-impacted areas.
Albertsons is, of course, not alone in this global conversation, one that changes every single day and will continue to create uncertainty.
The situation, as you know, is very fluid. We're staying very close to it. We've deployed a task force to help us understand the complexities of this situation as it evolves, and we've got some very good plans in place to help mitigate the impacts accordingly.
So there's a variety of opinions from analysts on what this move Albertsons is making, what the impact it could have. And Brian, I want to know, did reach out to Albertsons, a few different offices today across their communications departments. Should I get some insight on this idea that this is really not feasible for small-time suppliers? I reached out to a number of businesses in the Treasure Valley across the state of Idaho. That you see their products in the stores. No one was really ready to comment on this whole idea that Albertsons, a major grocery chain, is saying, no, you can't pass on these costs onto us because we don't want to pass them on to customers. So two ways to see this, but just one lens into the, I guess, the complicated nature of what's happening behind the scenes for all kinds of stores.
Well, they're a for-profit company, so we'll see how long that stance lasts when all of a sudden their stock prices maybe aren't doing so well when it comes to Albertsons. But it's not just like these cheap items that come out of China. I mean, there's some really like raw material kind of stuff coming from some of these countries that a lot of people depend on.
A big one that we talked about in the newsroom that we've talked about previously on the 208 is aluminum for things like beer. So we'll see what happens. The tariffs, will they, won't they? Changes every day.
All right. Thanks, Joe. You might remember it as the first song and dance you ever learned. The Hokey Pokey, that catchy tune, well, it has a strong tie to Idaho history and an even stronger connection to its future. Are you looking forward to the end of the show when we might be sharing your text message? Well, now's the time to send us one. 208-321-5614. That's the number. We'll take your comments, your criticisms, and your questions, as long as they're clean, concise, and clever. And oh yeah, include your name and the hashtag #the208. You know, Idaho has been known for a lot of firsts over the years. Specifically, Sun Valley has been at the forefront of a lot of firsts. North America's first ski resort, which would then lead to the world's first chairlift. But did you know, apparently Sun Valley also claimed to be the birthplace of something that's left a, well, bit more lasting impression. It's a tune you've likely heard more than once.
Right foot. You put your right foot in.
It's like one of those earworms that you're not going to forget.
And you shake it all about.
A melody so memorable,
And you turn around. That's what it's all about.
you'd know it no matter the language.
It's not just an American thing. It's performed, it's danced, it's sung all around the world. The rhythmic repetition of it and the silliness of shaking your body parts and making eye contact with other people while you do it. With everybody facing each other, it kind of gives it that collective experience.
Do the hokey pokey!
A song so ingrained in America, even music professors profess its primary place in our past.
I mean, it was always a part of my kind of musical experience from elementary school on. I remember dancing it as a little kid.
You do the hokey pokey.
The hokey pokey.
It seems so simple.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it.
However, how it got here isn't so simple.
It's complex, and some would say there's conspiracies behind the origin. There are a number of people who claim credit for the lyrics behind it, the moves, the rhythm.
But its origin story, at least legally, can be linked to Idaho.
This trio in Sun Valley, they were entertaining the ski crowd in the late 1940s, early 1950s.
The Ram Trio, consisting of Larry LaPrise, Charles McCack, and Taft Baker, was the house band of the Ram restaurant at the Sun Valley Resort, beginning in 1939. The story goes, according to LaPrise, the band needed something catchy to get people to loosen up and out of their seats. So LaPrise wrote one and claimed the idea came from a French song his dad used to sing. Then, in 1949, the trio, now labeled as the Sun Valley Trio, put the Hokey Pokey on vinyl. The record ended up being a poor seller, but that wasn't the trio's only problem. You see, 3 years earlier, Robert Deegan and Joe Breyer recorded a similar song to entertain vacationers in the Poconos. So they sued LaPrise and settled, with LaPrise winning the rights to anything having to do with the Hokey Pokey. Jump ahead to 1953, when Ray Anthony and his orchestra put out their seminal Bunny Hop. On the B side,
Right arm.
a version of the Hokey Pokey you might recognize. Years later, LaPrise would end up selling his rights to the song to Roy Acuff Music. And that's where the Hokey Pokey would put its whole self in on Idaho.
Shake it all about.
When Steve Burns joined the Idaho Community Foundation a few years ago, he found something on their list of more than 700 funds.
Well, most people who set up a fund, it'll be, the Smith Family Fund, the Jones Family Fund. And so to see a fund that was named the Hokey Pokey Scholarship Fund, I had to do a little bit of digging and research and say, what is this thing?
This thing goes back to 2001, when Larry LaPrize's family set up a scholarship, paid for by royalties from the Hokey Pokey.
This past year, I think it was about $3,000 worth of royalty checks.
But some years have been better than others.
A number of years ago, Sesame Street came out with an Elmo version of the Hokey, like Elmo would sing the Hokey Pokey.
Which meant those royalties shot up significantly.
How significantly?
There's significantly more than $500,000 in the fund.
So that Velveeta version, or Breland rendition, or whatever this is from Psycho Stick, all of it puts money in the fund, which helped the Hokey Pokey kick in $23,500 in tuition last year for second-year music students at the College of Southern Idaho.
You could argue that Larry LaPrize's legacy was that he wrote this song that we're all familiar with. I like to think of his legacy as he's going to continue to help, generations of musicians.
It's such a simple song.
Yeah.
But as you said, a lasting impact.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Couldn't resist.
That's what it's all about.
Wait, do we have to pay them now? That's what I want to know. Okay, so we know the origin story of the Hokey Pokey is a little bit more complex than just the two versions we mentioned. What we left out, for the sake of time, was how the song has roots in folk songs dating back to 18th and maybe even 19th century Britain. There's also the theory it was a parody of a Latin line pulled from the Catholic Mass, Hocus Pocus, or that it was the brainchild of a British band leader, Al Tabor, who created a dance in 1942 he claimed was about London ice cream sellers of his youth, what he called Hokey Pokey men. That same year, Irish songwriter Jimmy Kennedy, he created a dance called the Hokey Pokey, something to entertain Canadian troops stationed in England. He called it that, the theory goes, in a nod to something Canadian miners used to sing as an ode to cocaine. It was called the Hokey Pokey. Okay, so none of that changes the fact that Larry LaPrize won the American rights, and 5 years after he died in 1996, his family set up a scholarship fund with the proceeds. And all that to say, you too can contribute to Idaho's largest giving campaign. That's Idaho Gives. Idaho Gives begins today and runs through Thursday. More than 650 nonprofits and scholarship funds will benefit from what you put in. Arm and leg not required, but you might want to shake it all about after you get that warm feeling for helping. And we can tell you right now, we are up to $1 million. More than $1 million have been donated so far since this morning, with 2,000, nearly 3,000 donors. So that's pretty good. And we got 3 days left. Again, goes through May 1st. Make your donation at idahogives.org. major Idaho highway is now back open, which is good timing since filling up your gas tank will cost you a little less per gallon these days. Emphasis on little. Here's Abby Wilt with the 411 from around the 208.
U.S. Highway 95 between Council and New Meadows is back open. It officially opened this morning, but the Idaho Transportation Department says it was unofficially open to traffic Friday night. The portion of the road sustained significant damage from heavy rainfall, which caused a large landslide. The Idaho Transportation Department says crews worked extended hours to help get the road back open. Crews may still be working on the roadside and guardrail and may still close a lane as needed. Good news at the pumps this week. According to Gas Buddy, gas prices have fallen a little more than 1 cent in the last week, now averaging $3.13 per gallon in Boise. While 1 cent isn't a massive drop, gas prices are now 16 cents lower than a month ago. The national average price is the same as last week at $3.10 per gallon, putting us about 3 cents higher than the average. The whole state of Idaho is averaging $3.26 per gallon, which is unchanged from last week. Skiers at Brundage Mountain may have noticed better snow this season, and there's some serious science behind it. Boise State teamed up with Brundage to install a high-tech weather station near the Lakeview Lift. It tracks everything from snow depth to wind speed, giving patrol teams better tools for avalanche control and helping groomers fine-tune the runs. Plus, Boise State scientists get top-tier snow data for their research. It's a win for science and for powder hounds. That's your 411 from around the 208. I'm Abby Wilt.
Well, the golf course in Sun Valley was covered in snow this morning, but with temperatures in the mid-50s there right now, it has melted away. We're in the 60s across the Magic and Treasure Valleys right now. Skies are starting to clear over Boise. We had a rain shower earlier that has since dissipated, along with that thunderstorm that's been moving across the Mountain Home Glens Ferry area, tapering to just some showers at this moment. Looks like we have a storm developing right outside Fairfield as well. So our weather today moving from north to south and being caused by that stubborn low pressure system that has been moving to the south of us all the way through the weekend, and it's still impacting us this evening. So for the most part, I think dry weather now wins out for the Boise area, but don't be surprised as you're out and about on this Monday evening by a stray sprinkle or two. I think most of the thunderstorm activity, though, stays isolated to south central Idaho, and that will dissipate tonight as well. Another weak system moving in tomorrow will drop our temperatures into the upper 60s. We landed right around 70 for most of the Treasure Valley today. We stay sunny and breezy on Wednesday, but start to warm up. We'll hit the 70s as we kick off May on Thursday, into the 80s on Friday. Much cooler over the weekend with the return of some rain and breezy winds.
All right, a lot of you had something to say about Tesla Cybertruck drivers getting harassed, like this one from B&B in Nampa says, I have to admit, I've been guilty of giving the one-finger salute to Cybertruck drivers. However, most of them, he says, is because of their driving. They drive like they own the road, the city, and the state. John from Jerome says, maybe the folks accepting Cybertruck Uber drivers are doing it expressly for the purpose of harassment? Possibly, but that does seem like a lot of wasted energy. But then again, nothing would surprise me these days. I got Len for an Uber driver in his truck, and he's a great guy. Also, loved the truck. That one's from Diane, so she loved it. Sorry to tell you this, Tesla owners, but driving one is now a political statement. Sell it if you don't like the negative attention, from LK. And that's kind of the dichotomy of the views that we've been getting today on this. Split on both sides. A year ago, Tesla owners were heroes. Now they're hated. America, we are better than this hate. Don't hurt people who are helping to save the planet. That's from Deborah in Meridian. Meanwhile, Brian in Boise says, anytime someone acts out towards a Tesla vehicle, it gives those who want change in legal manner a bad name. Those people who vandalize and harass Tesla vehicles need to put their efforts towards a better means of protesting. Well said. No need to harass or even terrorize anybody. It really doesn't do any good, other than probably get you arrested, at least cited, possibly. This one here, Chuck in Boise. Thanks, Brian. Now I'll have that song in my head the rest of the night. That was the goal. You should be Kevin, photographer and editor, who had to listen to that, putting it all together all afternoon. It's a great earworm. Better than Baby Shark, though, right? We'll see you tomorrow.
Continue with us and watch free now on the KTVB Plus app everywhere you stream.